Your September 13th, 2022 Johnston County Board of Education meeting. Ms. Dance, we do have a quorum. All 7 board members are present. At this time, I'll ask Mr. K. Carroll to give our invocation, followed by Ms. Terry Sessoms in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we're thankful for the day that you've sent our way. We pray that we would do what's right in your sight as we come across each other here as people you put in our paths, that we might treat them in a Christian manner. We take a moment to pause and remember 9/11 as we reflect on the people that lost their lives, citizens that lost their lives, the emergency responders that gave their lives to try to rescue them. And we thank you for them. We ask that you would continue to wrap your arms around their family and comfort them. And we ask that you would guide and direct us in all that we do and say today. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for the purpose stated on our agenda. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Byrd. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 7-0. We'll go into closed session. Good afternoon and welcome to the Johnston County Board of Education meeting. We have already determined a quorum and had our invocation and pledge of allegiance, as well as come out of closed session. So at this time, we'll proceed with our open session agenda items. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve our minutes for our August 9th, August 17th special session board retreat, as well as the August 24th special session meetings.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Carroll. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we'll go into our discussion and adjustment to the agenda, starting with Mr. Wooten.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make one adjustment under 10E1 under Chief of Finance. Proposed 2022-23 proposed student fee schedules. I'd like to recommend that we drop that and move it to the October board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. We'll let that stand as our motion. Ms. Andrews.
No changes.
Ms. Sessoms.
None.
Mr. Byrd.
None.
Mr. Carroll. Mr. Johnston.
None.
I have none, so I'll entertain a second to the agenda item for the 2022-23 proposed student fee schedule to be moved to our October meeting. Second by Mr. Carroll. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we'll go into updates from our board committees, starting with finance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll just briefly highlight Mr. Stephen Britt's going to come later in the board meeting and get in a little deeper of what we talked about in our September the 8th Finance Committee meeting. I think one of the most important things we talked about is school safety. And I think us as a board, we need to look at every opportunity to make sure that our children and staff are safe. Our parents want our children and staff safe, and students can't learn unless they know they're safe. So there's some great opportunities that we have, and I think it's important that we look at these opportunities and act on them. I can't get into details of all the apparatuses we talked about to make sure that our doors and entrances to our school are safe, but at the same time, auxiliary services would like to seek RFPs for these opportunities that we'll bring to the board at a later time. You don't need board approval to have RFPs, but we'd like to see what these opportunities will cost us to make sure that we can have each and every building safe. So we'll talk about that. Also, referral bonuses for employees to make sure that we can fill all our vacancies across the county. There's going to be some referral bonus opportunities for our current employees that can refer teachers and to our classrooms, and we'll get into those opportunities today. Proposed performance bonuses for our remaining D and F schools. There's going to be some opportunities for bonus for performance to bring those schools to A, B, and C. Also, low wealth recruiting bonuses for our low wealth schools for our staff. Potential nurse bonuses, proposed fine arts supplements, as well as a 2% increase in band supplements.
Last year, as well as what other items we're trying to implement. Thank you. Legal committee.
No report.
Okay. Policy.
Yes, we will be meeting here on Thursday, here in the boardroom at 2 p.m. from 2 to 4 to continue our alignment process with the North Carolina School Boards Association. And then we will have a special work session on Monday, September the 19th, here in the boardroom from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. to do the same.
Thank you, Ms. Sessoms. Update from the bond committee.
Mr. Chairman, the bond committee itself has sort of done its work, we think, but the Citizens Committee that is working right now to give the information across the county about what the bond is about, the projects that will be done, has been put together. They have been out and they are going to various parts of the county. I was just asking the superintendent, I think by tomorrow, we will have posted on the Johnston County school system website where these meetings will be, the schools they will occur, the date and the time. Hopefully, as it goes to your community, you would get a communication, hopefully, from the school itself to let you know that information is going to be shared. So if you want to participate, to come, and here's what's going on. There we go. They have informational meetings. So, feel free to be there, engage in that, so you will see what we're trying to do as we address the many facility needs, the upgrades, the updates that are needed in our 46 buildings across this county. And I would just, as a reminder for each of you, the average age of the school buildings in Johnston County is 32 years old. So there's a lot of needs that we have. So avail yourself of these informational meetings and hear what's going on in your area and across the county.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Bond was very important, and I'm glad to see that the Citizens Committee is doing a lot of hard work for us, and I thank them for their hard work, as well as these other opportunities across the county that we have, that we can gain more information as citizens of Johnston County and how important building schools are in Johnston County. The only update I have is I'm looking forward to tomorrow night for our special celebration meeting for all of our schools that we're going to be celebrating with them tomorrow night with cake. And I see the lady that's probably making that cake, Miss Evelyn. And we thank you in advance for what you're doing. And we just want to carry this out to each one of our schools and thank them for all of the hard work that they did last year to improve our school system, as well as what they're continuing to do starting off this school year. So we're looking forward to that tomorrow night at facilities at 6 o'clock. So at this time, we'll go into special recognitions with Mr. Carr.
Certain members of the board. Mr. Malone, it's my pleasure to bring special recognitions this week. Before we begin, I would like for everyone to know, if you want to come up behind the board to take pictures, you're more than welcome. We want you to capture this moment because it's very important, okay? So we'll begin. First, we're going to, for our first recognition, we will have Mr. Jack Littleton from South Johnston High School, where Mr. William Weaver is the principal. You can stand right here. All right. Mr. Littleton is a core and sustainable carpentry teacher and was recently named the 2022 North Carolina Home Builders Association Construction Trades Teacher of the Year. That's a mouthful. It's a very, very, very lofty title there. He was nominated by the Johnston County Building Industry Association. If you would, please join me in celebrating Mr. Littleton. You're more than welcome to shake the hands anymore. You're welcome. Congratulations again, sir. Yes, sir. Speaking of that cake, next we will be recognizing 5 dynamic individuals from school nutrition. If y'all would please come up. Y'all can stand right here. And while they're coming up, it's no secret to us that we have an awesome school nutritionist program. There has been a lot of comment about the new menus in our schools, a lot of good comments, and so we just celebrate them. And we get to enjoy some of the good food all the time, too. So Johnston County Public Schools School Nutrition Services took home top honors in several categories at the School Nutrition Association of North Carolina State Conference held June 20th through 23rd in Greensboro, North Carolina. Ms. Yadira Creech was awarded the Martha Gomer Spirit Award for Outstanding School Nutrition Supervisor. The Spirit Award recognizes an outstanding child nutrition supervisor who demonstrates strong commitment to the child nutrition program and the students who ultimately benefit from the program through infectious enthusiasm, a can-do attitude, and a spirit of service to the program and the School Nutrition Association. Next, we have Ms. Muriel Brooks. Ms. Brooks took home second place for her National School Lunch Display and second place for National School Breakfast Display. Next, Ms. Evelyn Johnston. Ms. Johnston was awarded first place for her commodity side dish and third place for her delicious dessert cookie. Ms. Kim Williams. Ms. Williams took home second place for her sensational special decorated cakes. So let's celebrate Ms. Williams. And lastly, Ms. Twana Johnson. Ms. Johnson won second place for her healthy yet satisfying salad entree. If you all would, you're more than welcome to shake the hand of the board. And if y'all would, please help us celebrate our school nutrition program one more time. Congratulations. All right. Next, we'll recognize our character education children. This is the first time in a few years that we've done it in person, and it's very exciting to have them back in the building so that they can get the recognition they deserve. First, we have Mr. Landon Corby, a fifth grade student at Cleveland Elementary, where Dr. Ewell is principal. Mr. Corby is being recognized for the character trait compassion. You can stand right here, buddy. We'll tell a little bit about you, okay? All right. Yeah, it's all good, I promise. Mr. Landon is a fifth grade student in Mrs. Meyer's classroom at Cleveland Elementary. Landon demonstrates many positive character traits in and out of the classroom on a daily basis. One character trait that he is exceptionally good at is compassion. He is always thinking of others and treating them with respect and kindness. Landon is a natural caretaker and is always there to support and lift up others. He has been a leader in the classroom by demonstrating how we are to treat others as we would like to be treated. He helps students when they are in need and always has a positive attitude. Her final statement is the one that gets me. She said, Landon has a sweet, kind, and gentle nature. If y'all would, please help me celebrate Mr. Landon. Mr. Landon shakes a hand like a man. I can see that. Next, we have Miss Gabrielle, or Gabby Beal, who is an 8th grade student at Cleveland High School. She has been recognized for the character trait responsibility. I'm sorry, 12th grade. Sorry. Yeah, no, we're not sending her in the back. All right. Gabby Beal embodies the true heart of respect and fairness at Cleveland High School. In her leadership roles with the Executive Student Council, Racial and Ethnic Diversity Club, National Honor Society, and HOSA, she ensures that all voices of students are represented and respected. She shares her thoughts and maintains a positive voice in working towards improving Cleveland in each student's experience. An honors student taking multiple honors classes throughout her 4 years at Cleveland, Gabby also finds the time to serve as an athletic trainer with our sports teams. She works many nights on the sidelines of our games with our athletic trainer who says she is a great team player and I would hire her anytime and any day. She is simply phenomenal. If y'all would please help me celebrate Miss Gabby. Congratulations again. Next, we have Mr. Luke Spears, who is a 5th grade student at Polenta Elementary, where Miss Tammy Pollen is the principal. And as Mr. Spears comes up, he has been recognized for being extremely respectful. Right. Luke exemplifies respect at Polenta and has a reputation for being a respectful student. He is very kind and caring with his classmates and teachers. Luke can be found helping other students and keeping the classroom neat and tidy without being asked. He is always tuned in to the lesson and has his eyes on the presenter, respectfully absorbing all learning. He anticipates each learning opportunity and is excited to grow. Luke affirms his teachers by words of encouragement. Each teacher who has had the pleasure of interacting with Luke has nothing but positive experiences and positive words to report. He leaves a lasting impression each time you interact with him because he is so respectful. If y'all would please help me celebrate Mr. Luke. And lastly, we have Miss Brianna Richardson, who is an 8th grade student at Swift Creek Middle. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I skipped Laura, I'm sorry. Next, we have Miss Brianna Richardson, who's an 8th grade student at Swift Creek Elementary, where Dr. Carrie Evans is the principal. Ms. Richardson has been recognized for epitomizing responsibility. From the moment Brianna joined Swift Creek Middle School, she has demonstrated many positive character traits, from respect to perseverance to responsibility. We would like to recognize her for responsibility. In her classes, she is attentive during instruction, works hard to complete assignments, helps her classmates during group tasks, and volunteers to help her teachers. She enjoys working with others and collaborates with others while learning. Brianna demonstrates responsibility. She is accountable for her actions in class and always offers a helping hand. She will ask questions to better clarify her understanding of the topic being taught. She advocates for herself daily while maintaining a positive outlook and loving to be in the classroom. Please help me celebrate Miss Brianna Richardson. And lastly, I apologize for that oversight. Lastly, we have Miss Laurel Johnston, an 8th grade student at Cleveland Middle, where Miss Sarah Reynolds, Miss Lynn Prescott is the principal. Miss Johnson is being recognized for the character trait responsibility. One of her teachers says, "This is my 3rd year teaching Laurel, and I can truly say she is the perfect representation of responsibility. She is a true role model for her peers and she is always striving to be a better student in person. As an avid student, she was chosen to lead tours for the rising sixth grade students, and she did a wonderful job. Another teacher says, Laurel demonstrates responsibility by being very diligent about completing her assignments. Laurel's school counselor says this. She says, I have known Laurel since her kindergarten days at Westview. She has always been a bright spot around her school. Laurel can consistently be counted on to be a role model and a leader. If y'all would please help me celebrate Ms. Johnston. And next up, we have Mr. Brian Vetrano for Employees of the Month.
Mr. Carr, I'd just like to say thank you for stepping in for Ms. Furr. I know she's awaiting her newborn, is that correct? I know
Her newborn is here, a very
Born-
adorable, cute little boy.
born last night.
Yeah, born last night.
That is great.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you stepping in and doing a fantastic job.
Most certainly.
Thank you.
Sir.
Good afternoon, board members. We have already celebrated and are continuing to celebrate the academic achievements from last year, and we know that's not possible without great students, some of which we've recognized this evening, but also the teachers and support personnel, classified and certified. And so I'm honored to recognize two outstanding individuals this afternoon, our September Employees of the Month. And first, I would ask Ms. Camilla Jones to join me. I shared with you earlier, all you have to do is come stand next to me. I'll do all of it. I'll do all the hard work. You've been doing all the hard work out in the schools, so I'm doing the hard work here. All right. Ms. Jones works in the Curriculum, Instruction, and Accountability Department, and she serves as the Textbook and Resource Manager. There are people who lead behind the scenes. There are people who make things happen and who never seek credit or recognition. There are the people who make the world a better place and the work environment proactive, productive, and purposeful. One such example is Ms. Camilla Jones, Johnston County Public Schools District Textbook and Resource Manager. She collaborates with school leaders, staff, and district personnel, but she also takes initiative to get the job done. She does not have to be told what to do or how to do it. She just does it. Her primary focus is ensuring students have the learning tools they need without delay and excuse. She has ordered, organized, and delivered textbooks and resources as if she is a team of 10 people. She delivers her services with a smile. And Ms. Jones, there's so much more here, but I've just captured some of the highlights to share with the board. But we can't thank you enough for what you do each and every day, and we're honored to have you as our Classified Employee of the Month for September. Congratulations. Yes, ma'am. And not finished. Remember, I said we had a couple of goodies for you. All right. She thought she was in a very important meeting yesterday until we walked in with balloons. And then she realized why she was called into that room for a meeting. Those are great visits. We enjoy making them. Our Certified Employee of the Month, Ms. Tasha Franks, if you'll please join me. Ms. Franks is a math teacher at Swift Creek Middle School. And there's much to say also about you. I'm going to read some of the highlights to the board. Ms. Franks is one of the first people to arrive to school and one of the last to leave. She is able to adapt with the daily challenges and changes within education. She strives for personal and professional continuous improvement. Ms. Franks' presence makes a lasting impact wherever she goes. She demonstrates her care and concern for all students by providing uninterrupted time for students' needs, creating high standards for academic achievement, and safety protocols, and ensuring engaging lessons and activities to address the social and emotional learning for the students. One would also see her at most extracurricular events, cheering on her students in athletics and school activities. During the busyness of school life with all of the interactions, activities, and day-to-day opportunities and challenges, she takes time to recognize that both the big and small moments matter. Students matter. Students are the priority, and we appreciate you making them the priority. It's what it's all about. Congratulations, and thank you so much for what you do each and every day for our students. Congratulations. Dr. Evans is here supporting her as well. Congratulations. Goodies for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fratrano, and congratulations again to our employees of the month.
That is all we have. We do want to remind everyone of tomorrow's special academic celebration session for the general public. It will be aired live on YouTube. You can find the link on our webpage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. At this time, we'll go to our advisory appointments, starting with Ms. Sassums.
With the board's approval, I recommend the following advisory members. Brandy Peters for Benson Middle Advisory Council for a 3-year term, 2022 through 2025, where Dana Jernigan is the principal. And with your permission, I'll go ahead and make my other recommendation. With the board's approval, I recommend the following advisory members. Casey Johnston for Four Oaks Middle Advisory Council for a 3-year term, 2022 through 2025, where Anthony Whitaker is the principal.
Thank you, Ms. Sassums. We'll let that stand as our motion, and we'll go to Ms. Andrews.
Yes, sir. Ms. Sandra Morris, principal of Clayton Middle School, has recommended Chris Paul for the advisory council for a 3-year term, 2022 through 2025. Also, Dr. Ryan Jewell, principal of Cleveland Elementary School, is asking us to consider and vote on Mindy Holt and Dr. Leah Thompson as advisory council members for a 3-year term, 2022 through 2025. Also, from Polenta Elementary School, Ms. Tamara Poland, the principal there, has asked us to consider Amanda Curry, Shelley Watkins, Kim Daring, Leon Frazier, Diana Hernandez as advisory council members for a 3-year term, 2022 through 2025.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. We'll let that stand as our second. Dr. Bennett Jones requests the approval for renewal for Mr. James Rogers for Clayton High Advisory Council for a 3-year term, 2022 through 2025. At this time, I'll go to Mr. Wooten.
Miss Melissa Hurst from Princeton Elementary recommended Antoine Short for renewal for 2022 to 2025, and R.J. Smith for the same, for a abbreviated term of 2022 and 2023. Kelly Johnson at the Johnson County Virtual Academy has a recommendation for Nicole Renshaw and Dr. Andrea Williams for a 3-year term of 2022 through 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Go to Mr. Carroll.
Add to our recommendation, Lindsay Dunn, principal of McGree's Crossroads Elementary, is nominating Tisha Blanchett for a 3-year appointment. From McGee's Crossroads Middle School, Markeisha Shepherd, principals, recommended Rocio Mencia for a 3-year term and Jessica Tremblay for a 3-year term. Mr. Clint Eves, principal of Meta School, recommending renewal for Brandy Strickland, Brenda Jernigan, Carla Parnell, all for a 3-year term.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Mr. Byrd.
Yes, Mrs. Lee White from Riverwood Elementary is recommending Jamel Brown for a 3-year term, 2022 to 2025. And also, Principal Monica Sawyer at Riverwood Middle School is recommending 2 Danielle Pleasant King and Michelle Kozar for 3-year terms, 2022, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 7-0. Dr. Bracy.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I ask that the board approve consent items numbers 1 through 19.
Thank you, Dr. Bracy. I'll entertain a motion to approve consent items 1 through 19.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Wooten, second by Mr. Carroll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 7-0. Dr. King.
Good evening, board members. I am back. Heard you all missed me. I wanted to share some time with you this evening. We have 2 items this evening for your approval. The first one is an item for calendar changes to support letters training for teachers. Board members, as you know, last year was our first year of letters training. This year our teachers will enter into their second year. Unfortunately, just as was the case last year, it is necessary for us to make some adjustments to our school calendar in order to accommodate that training schedule. Just by way of explanation, the reason we find ourselves in this place each year is because our calendar is completed for the year prior to the point at which the group that the state has contracted with to provide letters training allows us to identify our training dates. And so once they open that window, it's quite difficult to find dates that work. And so we find ourselves again this year needing to make adjustments so as to be able to accommodate that work. So this year what we will be asking is a number of things. First, we are asking that December 15th, 2022, which is currently a full school day, would be changed to an early dismissal day. That is because December 16th, 2022, which is now an early dismissal day, we are asking that that day would be changed to be a required county workday, during which time our teachers would do letters training. We're also asking that January 30, 2023 be made a required school workday, be required school workday. Also, required county workday. This will also allow our teachers to complete letters virtual trainings. And just to remember, those letters virtual trainings are 6-hour virtual sessions that all of our teachers are required to participate in. Then we would ask that January 31st, 2023 become an optional teacher workday. And we're asking that so that we will maintain a teacher workday for our teachers at the end of the semester, which the 31st would have been. And then finally, we are asking that June 12th, 2023, which is already a workday, be designated as a required county workday. That day will also be a letters virtual session training day.
Thank you, Dr. King. We have 5 different dates: December 15th, 22, December 16th, 22, January 30th and 31st of 2023, and then June 12th of 23. Those changes are for us tonight for approval, so I entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Byrd. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Dr. King, I just want to reiterate that this letters training is required by the state, not by our local agency, correct?
It is indeed required by actual legislation at this point, not even just DPI. This training is required by legislation that was passed by the General Assembly. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate y'all doing this because we all know that it's just impossible to do this kind of training while the students are in session. We cannot supply enough substitutes to pull out this many teachers, so appreciate you doing that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, board members. And at this time, board members, our next item is the 2021-22 summative data review. This will be my most fun item ever. I am awful excited to have our accountability and program officer come forward and share with you the results of our work last school year. But before we do that, I want to just take a moment of personal privilege. That our press conference the other day, at the end of my comments, I talked about the importance of knowing and showing appreciation for the hard work of our teachers. I want to do that before this presentation begins this evening. The data you will see tonight is quite exciting, but I want to begin and center that information this evening by saying that all of these positive results are the direct result of the hard work of our teachers, teacher assistants, building level administrators, school nutrition staff, bus drivers, everybody who works with our children every single day. And we are appreciative of the work that everyone has done to produce these results this year. At this time, Ms. Christy Stevenson, our Accountability and Program Officer, will come forward and share some information with you.
Good evening, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, Vice Chair Sessoms, and all board members. I am super excited to be here tonight to share with you our 2021 summative data. Shortly after the state release on September 1, WREL showed this graphic. That's a pretty graphic. You see that bright yellow? That's Johnston County. Johnston County is the only district to see a major decrease in underperforming schools across the state. That's phenomenal. A low-performing school was defined by the state as a school with a school performance grade of a D or an F and not exceeding growth. The last time this was measured was in 2019. At that time, we had 14 schools that were considered low performing. Now we are down to 5. Simply amazing. This type of improvement, as Dr. King mentioned, is just a true testament to our whole school community coming together and our students working hard to show this level of improvement. It's just phenomenal. So tonight I'm going to share with you some successes as well as areas for improvement. As I mentioned, we've reduced our number of low-performing schools from 14 to 5. We've exceeded our pre-COVID levels. So what that means is when you look at proficiency, achievement, the percent of students achieving a level 3 or higher on end of grade and end of course assessments, we are above where we were in 2019. 44 of our 46 schools that had comparison data improved their performance composite from the 2021 school year. We had 12 schools improve their school performance grade. Of those 12, 7 of them moved from a D, F to a letter grade of C. And we had 33 schools exceed growth. And I want to pause just a minute. And so what does that exceed growth really mean? So when we think about growth, when you look out across the state and you compare schools that are comparable, and what I mean comparable is schools that have like achievement to my school, the expectation is that you maintain the pace with those schools that are like yours. If you are at least maintaining that achievement, then you've met growth. If you have outpaced or outperformed those schools that are like yours, then you have exceeded. 33 of our schools did that last year. Thinking about our school performance grades, when you look at our trend over the past 4 years, we are now at 79% of our schools at an A, B, or C. That comes from both achievement and that growth. So the achievement portion is 80%, and that growth makes up 20%. In Johnston County Schools, we have a goal that by the end of the 23-24 school year, all of our schools will be at an A, B, or C. They know it. Teachers know it. 2019, we were at 15 schools. We cut that by a third. We're at 10. This year, I think we'll get 5 more, because we've got 5 schools within 4 points of hitting that C. Then we got 1 more year to go to get the last 5 up under our belt to reach our goal. We can do it. Thinking about our school performance grade changes, as I mentioned, we had a total of 12 schools actually improve their letter grade. 4 of those schools went from a C to a B, those being Archers Lodge Middle, Dixon Road, Innovation, and Powhatan. We had 6 schools move from a D to a C: Benson Elementary, Clayton Middle, Corinth Holders Elementary, Micro, Polenta, and Wilson's Mills. Selma Middle moved from a letter grade of F to D, and North Johnston Middle improved 2 whole letter grades, moving from an F to a C. That's awesome. All right. So let's talk about growth. As I mentioned, that's 20% of that school performance grade. Right now, we have 86% of our schools meeting or exceeding growth. 33 of them exceeded, and there's the list of the 33. When we take a minute and look across the state and take that growth index and order it, out of 2,532 public and charter schools across the state, we have 30 in the top 20% for growth. 16 of them are elementary, and there's their little mascots. Yay! 11 are middle schools. Yay. And 3 are our high schools. Digging down a little bit more, 20 of those schools are in the top 10%, and we have 8 in the top 5% of all North Carolina public and charter schools. So I want to take just a minute. These are those 8 schools, and out beside you see what their rank is. So, for example, Archers Lodge Middle, our top school for growth, is ranked 12th out of 2,532. Swift Creek, 24th. McGee's Middle, 42nd. Princeton, 44th. Wilson's Mills, 54th. Riverwood, 85th. Thanksgiving, 106th. And Meadow, 114. I also want you to look at that number in parentheses. That represents the growth index. Remember a while ago I said when we're talking about growth, maintaining or meeting that growth expectation, think about that as a 0. So 0 is your growth index if you've met. Now the state allows for some standard error around that, actually 2 standard errors. So when we're looking at a growth index, anything from a -2 to a +2 is meets expectations. Anything above a 2 is exceeds. These numbers are 3 and 4 times a 2. I've seen some 7s before. I've never seen a 12 or a 10. That's awesome. Yeah. Isn't that exciting? I'm giddy. I'm sorry. So I want to take the next few minutes, this huge shout out to all of the schools for all the strides they've made. But I want to take a little bit of time and look at our county level data and how we did compare to the state. So you'll see from the 2018-19 year, we dropped 10.2%, largely due to COVID. Last year, we rebounded up to 53.3. You'll notice we've now surpassed the state average and regained what we lost. Looking at our performance composite, which is the percent of students proficient across all end of grade and end of course tests compared to all the other districts across the state, we are now ranked 41st in the state. Huge improvement from where we were in 2018-19, which was 83rd. So we're back kind of in line where we were 15-16. Our next goal, we need to get to that proficiency rate that we were there and surpass that. Taking a look across grade spans at our proficiency, you'll see our elementary and middle schools, our 2021-22 numbers are above where we were in 18-19. At the high school level, we do have a little bit of work to do there. We recouped 5% of the 8% that we lost. Okay. Looking at our elementary data by subject area, you'll see there reading, math, and science. Again, we've exceeded where we were prior to COVID, with math showing the most gain. Middle school, we see similar results. And high school, as I mentioned, we do have some work to do there. That Math 3 line, which is that orange line, you'll see that subject area. We did improve our performance there beyond where we were in the 2019 school year. Math 1 and biology, we also showed increase, not quite back to where we were. And English 2 is a continued area of focus for us, as that proficiency did continue to decline. I want to back up and just talk just a second about the Math 1 data. The Math 1 data represented in this chart does include both middle school and high school Math 1. I will say at our high school level, our proficiency increased from roughly 16% to 25%, and our middle school data improved from approximately 71% to 90%. So we've seen significant gains there. In addition, our grade 8 math EOG, which, and the reason I'm bringing this data up, because those kids are now going into Math 1 at the high school. We went from an 8% proficiency in 2021 to 27.2% proficient in 2022. So those kids that are in 9th grade now entering Math 1 have more were proficient, so they have that stronger mathematical foundation. So I anticipate our Math 1 numbers in high school to continue to increase. I'll also say we've implemented Math 180 at the high school level. This is taken during the Math Foundations class for those students that need that extra support before they go into Math 1. So we have some supports in place. Moving on to look at our subgroup performance data across our district, you'll notice all of our subgroups, so that light blue bar on the right-hand side, is above where we were in 2018-19 or pre-COVID, so it's above that green bar. The most significant gains were seen with our LEP students, followed by our Black population, followed by our Hispanic population. As I mentioned at the beginning, we had 44 schools out of our 46 with comparable data show improvement in their performance composite. And this just wasn't a little bit of improvement. This was significant improvement. 39 of our schools improved by at least 5 points. Of those 39, 28 improved by 10. And we had 4 schools improved by over 20 points. And they're listed there for you: Powhatan, Cooper, Wilson's Mills, and Benson Elementary. When we look at it across grade spans, the most improved performance composite for our elementary school was Benson Elementary. Middle school was Princeton Middle, taking out just their middle school data since they are a 612 school. Traditional high school, the most improved was North Johnston High, and then our innovative high school, early college, showed the most improvement. Thinking about this in terms of subject area by grade span, for math, the most improved was Benson Elementary, a 34-point gain. Princeton Middle Math, right at a 26-point gain. Innovation Academy, Math 1, improved by almost 44 points. High School Math 1, CTLA, and Math 3, Princeton High School. Reading, Wilson's Mills was the most improved elementary. McGee's Crossroads Middle, the most improved middle school, and South Johnston High School, the most improved high school. And in science, we recognize Powhatan, Princeton Middle, and Princeton High School for their biology. The highest performance composite. So this isn't looking at improvement. This is looking at the greatest proficiency rate. For elementary, it's Cleveland Elementary. Middle school is our Innovation Academy. Traditional high school is Corinth Holders High. And then our innovative high school, early college. I want to talk just a second about our graduation rate. You'll see here that our graduation rate continues to improve, and we continue to maintain a rate higher than the state. Our graduation rate is based off of the percent of students graduating within 4 years. So it follows, once a student enters 9th grade for the first time, what percent of them are graduating in 4 years' time. Our fantastic finishes for our grad cohort rate, North Johnston High School saw the most improved rate by increasing by 7 points. And we had 3 schools that had a graduation rate greater than 95%, those being our Career Technical and Leadership Academy, Early College, and Cleveland High School. So I want to pause just a second here. The data that we've shared tonight is absolutely amazing. It's awesome, awesome. But in Johnston County Schools, we are about continuous improvement. So while we reflect on this data and we celebrate this data, we recognize that there is still work to be done. So a couple of things that we've identified for improvement. When we look at our Read to Achieve data, so Read to Achieve legislation is about looking at third graders and the percent of third graders that leave third grade to go to 4th grade that have met the standard for reading. So in other words, they've demonstrated proficiency on the EOG, they've demonstrated proficiency through an M-class assessment, their MAP assessment, through a portfolio. There's all different ways students can demonstrate proficiency. Or they have a good cause exemption to the policy. They're an EC student or a LEP student that's been here no more than 2 years. When you look at our data at the end of the school year, we had 77.9% of our students that had met the expectation. The students that had not met the expectation were invited to summer learning. We had 355 students attend summer learning for 3rd grade that had not met the expectation, which was about 60% of those eligible. At the end of reading camp, we had 79.8% of our students meeting the standard. The students that have not met the standard are currently enrolled in a 3-4 transition classroom where they are receiving additional reading support. Some other areas of opportunity are our EL progress. You'll notice there that we're at 20.6%. EL progress is a measure of progress to determine are our LEP students progressing at a rate to exit the program on time. So are their language acquisition skills, you have a limited English proficient. Thank you. Yep. So our English learners. When you look at our data, we're sitting at 20.6%. The state is at 21.1%. So this isn't just a Johnston County issue. This is a state issue as well. But we do have some strategy in place this year. Our EL department is working really hard with our schools on providing PD for strategies that are effective, research-based, effective strategies to help our English learners. We're doing some additional training on the language acquisition test, which is the access test. So we have some things in place to help with this data point. Also, the ACT performance there, you'll see our ACT results are at 35.5% that are meeting the composite of 19. One thing I will note, the UNC Board of Governors changed the composite score from a 17 to a 19. So that's part of the reason that that number dropped. The state results, though, are at 41.7%. So we are below the state when it comes to ACT. Had the numbers been kept the same, the composite of 17, we would have been at a 49.5%. So if you compare apples to apples, really we increased a little bit. Some things that we've implemented this year, the county has purchased Mastery Prep, which is ACT prep that's being used in all of our high schools for a certain population of our juniors, because the juniors are the ones that take the ACT. And also, as we've talked about, English language arts is also an area for continued improvement, particularly at the high school for us. We've got some bullets here that Dr. King will speak to. These are some things that were implemented last year that will continue, and some new strategies that we have in place.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. Board members, I hope you're as excited about those scores as we are, but we want to make clear to everyone in the community that we see this as the beginning of a process, not the end. We intend to continue to see our students' performance increase. What we saw last year is evident that an appropriate focus on instruction, high-quality assessment, and planning around those assessment results is really the key to student achievement increasing. And so we intend to continue with that work this year. Additionally, we intend to continue with our quarterly and monthly data reviews. Those reviews take place and include the superintendent, myself, our accountability and program officer, as well as the assistant area superintendents. We'll continue, of course, to monitor and provide feedback to teachers through our principals. You'll remember last year we brought in Mike Rutherford and the Rutherford group to teach our principals and work with our principals specifically around the issue of monitoring instruction and providing focused feedback on that instruction. We'll continue that work this year with new principals so that process remains in place. We'll continue and implement a focus on progress monitoring. And progress monitoring is a process by which we provide opportunities to assess student performance on items even before our interim assessments take place and make additional changes and plans based on that information. We are working with our teachers and our principals to continue to increase the rigorous nature of our instruction through the use of a depth of knowledge focus. Depth of knowledge is a notion that is kind of the underpinning of the North Carolina student assessment process. It's a way of thinking about instruction. We had joining us this summer at our summer retreat, Mr. Eric Francis. Mr. Francis is kind of one of the nation's top thinkers about the notion of depth of knowledge. He spent a full day with all of our principals and assistant principals this summer. In addition to that, we didn't just do that for one day. We have contracted with Mr. Francis, and Mr. Francis will be working with a number of our feeder patterns over the course of this year to continue that work with the idea of embedding that notion of increasing rigor through depth of knowledge across our schools over the course of this year. We intend to and have already begun the process of supporting, providing additional teacher support for our teachers through the existence and the work of our learning facilitators. Board members, you'll remember that you funded 12 of those positions. We have identified 9 folks, and they are working away in our building. In fact, I just reviewed just before I came up. We have our first meeting with that group of people on September 16th, so they'll come in and get additional training that they will then take back out and use to support our teachers additionally. And then finally, we of course anticipate that we will continue to see improvement in literacy instruction through the implementation of letters. Last year, what our teachers did with letters hopefully kind of set the stage. This year, they'll begin learning even more about literacy instruction through that process, and we anticipate that that will continue to allow our students to receive and benefit from the highest possible quality of literacy instruction. And we certainly all know that literacy is really the gateway skill in terms of moving through students from where they are to a point of proficiency and success. So these are the things that we anticipate continuing to do over this year. So we are extremely excited about the work that we'll be doing in that regard and how we think it will impact our students going forward. Board members, one last thing that I do want to share that I think is exciting information. We are obviously operating under the assessment program that we are operating under now. I spent yesterday at the Department of Public Instruction with the state superintendent as a part of her Polaris Accountability Program work group. And so we were advised to come back and tell everyone who would listen, so I'm excited to tell you as board members in our community that the state has begun the work of revising and adapting our accountability program. We are aware that the program that we have, as well as we did on it last year, is faulty and does not do as good a job as we need it to do to show us and help us understand what kids know, understand, and can do. And so the work towards that new system began yesterday with a group of educators from across the state and across all portions of the state, from the community college system to the university system, the school districts. We're excited that Johnston County has a seat at that table along with a number of other school divisions. And so I'm just glad to be able to share with you that that work has begun. We hope, the Polaris Group hopes, that the Department of Public Instruction will be prepared to make a recommendation to the General Assembly about a new and revised accountability program in January of next year. So it will be fast work. My promise to you is that I will keep you apprised of it, and we really look forward to what's going to come out of that work.
Thank you, Dr. King. I just got one question. You or Christy might be able to answer this. Christy, it's, all the excitement, Johnston County, we still have naysayers that the bar was lowered, and that's why we increased like we did. But that one slide of the yellow, if that was the case, there would have been more counties that would have increased, correct? Am I correct in that?
You are correct.
So did the bar get lowered?
The proficiency went down because of COVID, but the bar did not get lowered. So when you think, again, about growth, it's maintained. Think about it like this. You got the housing industry, right? If I have a house and you have a house, and they're comparable, I mean, they got the same amenities, we got the same, and I sell my house for $20,000 more than I bought it for, I'm sitting there going, I did pretty doggone good. But you sell yours for $40,000 more. Did I do as good? No. That's how growth works. If our houses had sold for about the same, then we would have met expectations. But you far exceeded expectations, right? So, no, the bar, if we want to say the bar got lowered, it got lowered for everybody, not just Johnston County Schools.
Thank you for that analogy. I'm an appraiser, and I know exactly what you're talking about. So I just want to make that clear. I mean, the excitement is true for Johnston County Public Schools. We can't say it enough. We're going to celebrate more tomorrow night, and then we want the principals to carry it out to their schools as well. But we appreciate all the hard work that you all did to put this together, continue to monitor our improvements, and we can't wait to see every school at A, B, or C. Thank you.
And I'm glad that you pointed out, I know we have some who may say, well, when you look at disaggregated data, and you and I have done that in years past, and we look at subgroups, you have mentioned some subgroups, LEP, African American. So we fully understand that we have subgroups that we have to raise up. This is not just shine the brightest or shine the ones that easily pass the EOGs or EOCs. We are strategically looking at how do we get our students with disabilities? How do we get their scores up? Because they're all part of Johnston County Schools. But I know we have some people out there that are saying, well, you didn't do as well because you're subgroups. We understand that. Please understand that whether a student has a disability or not, they take the same test as a child who does not have a disability or a child who's academically gifted. Understanding that LEP, we understand that our LEP students, the acquisition of English, we've got to get that done faster because after 2 years, they too take the test, whether they speak English or not. So I just want the public to understand that we are aware of that, and that's all part of the goal. Dr. Bracey set a goal. He didn't say just certain students are proficient. He said all students and all schools, you know, in our goal. So I just want to say that we're certainly aware of that, and you can look at. I don't know if this aggregated data is out or not.
And it is. You can download that from the DPI website. But the other thing I will mention is every school in their school improvement plan, they have 3 goals. One is on increasing overall student achievement. One is focused on subgroups, and one is focused on social emotional learning. That one focused on subgroups, very intentional and specific in looking at, we have underperforming subgroups, and we know that. Part of the ESSA plan helps us identify who those underperforming subgroups are. So if we have an underperforming subgroup, we have to have an intentional plan to address those needs. And like I said, every school across this district has
And
that in place.
subgroup would be, help me if you have 40 students. 30, okay, sorry. 30 students in that area, students with disability. If you have 30 in your school, if you have 30, that's a subgroup.
Correct.
And so you have lots of subgroups, and you have students that are in multiple subgroups.
Correct.
So
Correct.
Well, and I would also like to thank Dr. Bracey for your leadership. It has truly made a difference. Christy can tell you back in the early days of my being on the board, I was asking for data, and she provided it. And data is so important. I have had the pleasure of sitting in meetings with teachers and watching them go through that data with their principals and assistant principals and teacher assistants, and looking at children in subgroups and getting down to student by student. Where are we at this point with student A? And what can we do to move student A forward? So that data is so critical. And thank you for providing it to our schools. I want to thank our senior leadership team for all the guidance and the support that you've given the schools. Thank our teachers, our principals and assistant principals, because you embraced this goal, and the reason you did was because you knew it was what was good for kids. And I am so thankful for that. But I also want to thank our custodians, our SRO, our clerical, our cafeteria staff, bus drivers, everyone that works in this system, in facilities, making sure that kids have a safe, clean, orderly environment in which to learn, that they don't go hungry because hungry children cannot learn, that they are getting to school safely and on time so that teachers can maximize that learning time, that instructional time. Our clerical staff who handle everything in the world so that instructional staff can get in there and do their jobs. Our teacher assistants, I could just go on and on and on, but every single person in this school district has created these results. And I am so stinking proud of everybody. I am so proud because I knew Johnston County Public Schools could do this, and you are making it happen. So thank you to all of the folks, and of course our parents and community members who get in there and support too.
I want to just give the board one more statistic for context, speaking to that question that you asked. In 2018-19, the last time schools were identified as low-performing or whatever have you, there were 300-plus low-performing schools across the state of North Carolina, 16 of which were in Johnston County Public Schools. This year, at the end of the testing process, there are more than 700 low-performing schools. That is twice as many, and only 5 of them are Johnston County Public schools. So anyone who thinks the bar was lowered is missing the point. In fact, more than twice as many schools failed to meet the required performance at the end of last school year, more than twice as many as has been the case in the past. So just wanted to share that so you could be a little more stinking proud, Ms. Sessions.
Thank you, Dr. King. Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Mr. Moore, 5 minutes, you got it. Then we'll take a small break.
All right, after all of that excitement, here comes the facilities guy talking about the cell phone tower. Good evening. I do have two items. The first one is to approve a lease for a cell phone tower to be placed on approximately 10,000 square feet of property behind Holders High School. There's the location map for you. It is roughly up to 250 feet tall. And the initial lease term is for five years and includes options to renew up to an additional 20 years. The lease will have an annual rental payment of $14,400 with an annual rent increase of 2% and a 10% revenue share for co-located equipment that's added as well. And most importantly, for safety, this will drastically increase the cell phone service in this area. Back on July 27th, the affidavit was publicized in the Johnstonian newspaper following a 30-day public notice period per statute. With no comments, the Facilities and Construction Department, along with school staff, recommends approval of this lease.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I entertain a motion to approve the cell phone tower lease for 5 years.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wooten.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Second item, I do have some exciting news. This is the purchase of property. As you know, we have a need to build 6 new schools. So we are working on school sites, and the first is to purchase the remaining portion of land adjacent to the recently built Thanksgiving Elementary School. This area and this site has been identified as an optimal location, but also cost efficient. The pump station for sewer, the roads been widened, everything's been put in place with the first school for an additional school. So last Tuesday night, the county commissioners approved the purchase price of $3 million for 133.94 acres, and therefore we recommend purchasing this land. And this also includes a contingent due diligence period for survey, environmental studies, stuff like that.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Entertain a motion to purchase the additional property out at Thanksgiving Elementary.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Byrd. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 7-0. At this time, we'll take a small break to get set up for our public comment. go ahead and get started with our public comments. Tonight, we have 14 speakers signed up for public comment. Citizens who have signed up to address the board during public comment will be called upon as they signed up and will have 3 minutes to address the board. The board suggests that specific personnel or student matters be addressed to the school principal, the Johnston County Public School System official responsible for the program or facility, or to the superintendent and are not appropriate for this setting. Tonight, our first speaker is Mr. Joe Preston.
I'm waiting for the clock to start. Hello, everybody. Superintendent Bracy, Chairman Sutton. I first want to say it was nice to see at the beginning of this meeting all the recognition that you did. When I was a kid, I used to go to a lot of school board meetings because of like spelling bees and band and stuff like that because I was a nerd. But it was nice to see that recognition. And I also wanted to say congratulations and the great presentation that we just saw about what happened last year with the Johnston County Public School System. And I want to thank all of you, but also especially the teachers and the parents and the students that went through what they went through a couple years ago and then dealt with it last year. I mean, great job. Just absolutely great job. Now to something that I need to talk about. There's somebody on this board that we know has some issues against him. He was censured at the last meeting, and there are people that are saying that there's a witch hunt. Now, the only witch hunt that I'm ever aware of in our history was in 1692, I believe, in Salem, Massachusetts. And a witch hunt is defined as a campaign directed against a person or group holding unorthodox or unpopular views, and that's not the case. There are actual things that this individual has done that we have evidence of, that there is proof of, and so I don't want people or the public to believe that there is a witch hunt against this person, and that's why you took the action that you took. And I want to thank you so much for taking that action, because you did what you could do as a board by censorship and then sending it on to the district attorney's office. And I want to thank you as a board, and I don't think you've ever heard me thank you in the year I've been here. So I'm just saying thank you very much for doing what I believe was your job. We need to bring integrity back to this board, to the school system. We've got these great numbers that have come out, rising the schools back up to the top. I mean, amazing numbers that have come out. Obviously, there's still work to be done, but we've got to bring integrity back to the board, get the public trust back. And so I want to say real quick, the way that we do that is you have to vote. And when you vote, I'm asking you to vote the day of, not early voting, not absentee voting, and I'm asking you to vote after 3 o'clock p.m. And there's a reason for that. The Board of Elections, I got 12 seconds. The Board of Elections just voted that they're going to count absentee ballots and early voting ballots at 2:30 on that day, which means the public will know. And I think I'm off, but hopefully they heard that.
Thank you, Mr. Preston. Next, our next speaker is Ms. Cecilia Helm. Unfortunately, in our board policy, that cannot take. Thank you, Ms. Helm. Next, we have Ms. Bowers.
I just wanted to come tonight to say, as like a parent and former teacher, that our teachers are doing great things, and our kids should be first. And every time we turn on the news, all we see is Johnston County Public School drama, and I think people are just sick of it. I'm sick of it. Other parents I've talked to are sick of it. Teachers are sick of it. We want to turn on the news and see good things about our county. The test scores coming up, that is great. 9 times out of 10, when we turn on the news, it's something bad. And I think it would be amazing if we could get to the point where we have people on the board who are putting our kids first. And And I know there's so much going on behind the scenes that I'm not privy to, but from an outside looking in, our kids are not being put in first, and our teachers are not being put first. And I just really want to make it very clear that that's what the parents and teachers want, and that is not happening, and we need to get back to that. Whatever needs to happen behind the scenes or whatever, people are just tired of the drama.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowers. Next, we have Mr. Alan Hall.
I'm not gonna take up too much time. I just wanted to, really, honestly, I just wanted to step up here so everybody on YouTube can see my shirt. But, 1 second. Move my hands to make sure they can see it well. Actually, just wanted to talk about, I'm not sure if this is all updated. Hopefully it is. I want to talk about it was a very informative bond meeting in Archer Lodge recently. And just wanted to make sure the public is aware of ones that are coming up. Looks like there's one in the Johnston High area schools, Cleveland West Johnston High area schools on Tuesday, September 20th. North Johnston High area schools hosted by North Johnston High School on Monday, September 26th. There's one on September 29th at South Johnston High area schools at South Johnston High School. There's one on, let's see, it's 110 East Anderson Street on Monday, September 19th. And then there is one on October 3rd at South Smithfield Elementary. And all of those meetings are at 6 p.m. They're very, very informative. If you're not sure about the bond, I implore you to the public to definitely make sure you attend one of these meetings. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Next, we have Miss Erica Hall.
Good evening. I wanted to say, as a mother of children enrolled in JCPS, a PTA member, and an advocate for our public schools, I am so stinking proud to see how we have improved. Last year, almost to this day, there was a political pandering event that brought outside agitators to Johnston County, if you remember. It occurred in hopes of diverting attention away from critical issues in the county, especially our schools. This resulted in a divide in the community. As you can see, there's a lot of individuals who showed up early to speak and are in support of our board members, our educators, and most importantly, our students. Most of us are coming together to work for the common good of JCPS. I will apologize about the folks who have continued to emerge in the community, like at our county commissioners' meetings, to spread slanderous defamation and lies about a few board members. This is doing nothing but creating division. But that small but obnoxious partisan pack doesn't deserve recognition, and its members don't care about children in our schools, which is very unfortunate. They care about misleading the community with their buzzwords and propaganda. As much energy is spent attacking this board, they could be volunteering in schools, spreading information about the bond referendum vote in November, and see with their own eyes how remarkable our teachers are, and that seek to work with everyone to address the key issues. That being said, I really hope we can get back to focusing on children. As a parent of a 7th grader, a 4th grader, and a rising preschooler, I am constantly worried, but I'm very proud. We must work together to ensure to have common sense policies in place, not policies written by propagandists, not policies written by a pack leader. The conversations should always be about these kids, our educators, and our faculty. After tonight, the focus is no longer on a grown adult who says, "Make me." It's about JCPS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall. Next, we have Miss Jamie Stoltz.
I just want to can y'all hear me? I just want to thank y'all for all the work you've done in the past year. Thank you. Raising grades and bringing to light the focus on education, because that is why all of us are here. I really like what you just said, although I don't have kids in the public school system. I wanted to thank the board for the censorship that you guys put forward for Ronald Johnson, because that distraction needs to absolutely positively be taken care of, and we need to focus back on the students and the grades, and of course the teachers too. What you guys did earlier tonight, that was very refreshing, and I just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoltz. Next, we have Mr. Mark Lane.
Chairman Sutton, Vice Chairman Sessoms, Dr. Bracy, members of the board, thank you for giving me an opportunity to be here this afternoon to speak before you. My remarks are going to be brief. Dr. King's presentation stole some of my thunder here, but some of these numbers are worth repeating. So even with all the negativity our school system has faced during the last years, with all the false and baseless allegations about 2 of our board members conspiring to hide money recently, the Johnston County school system still shines. Results released by the state last week show the overall composite score on the end of grade and end of course testing increased to 53.3% from 42.7% in the 2020-21 school year. 10 schools exceeded expectations for academic growth in the 2018-2019 school year. And let's move forward, and I know this has already done it, but it's worth repeating. Let's move forward to the 2021-22 school year, where a total of 33 schools exceeded growth expectations. 8 schools met growth expectations, while 7 still did not meet growth expectations. But even with all the negative actions and comments toward our school system from people with personal agendas, even with false and baseless allegations toward our school board, toward our school board members, it's still our time to shine. Dr. Bracy, congratulations. Job well done. Congratulations to your team. Congratulations to the principals, to the teachers, and more importantly, congratulations to the students that took the initiative to want to learn, that made these test scores improve. I'd like to close by saying, come December, I look forward to joining all of you sitting up there and to help make Johnston County Public Schools continue to move forward and to become the best school system in the state of North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Next, we have Miss April Lee.
Good evening, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, Vice Chair Sessoms, and board members. I'm April Lee, mother, teacher, resident, and president of Johnston County Association of Educators. First, I'm here to say thank you for investing your time and so much of your energy in our public schools, our students, and our staff. I also want to thank Todd Sutton and Brooks Moore for attending the August Planning Board meeting. We all need to be concerned about growth in our county because this growth directly impacts our public schools. Next, I want to talk about our data managers and their responsibilities. I continue to have concerns about the amount of work they're being asked to do. Managing the student data of 2 to 3 schools is a lot. And the concern I'm hearing is about clean data. The beginning of the year is quite stressful, and data managers are concerned about accuracy, especially, because headcount and accurate schedules are crucial this time of year. As we move forward, please consider what we are asking of our data managers and reconsider, if needed, the decision to consolidate the positions. I also want to address concerns around the county about our chillers and heating and cooling systems. I know they're on the agenda tonight for some schools. I also know that many schools around the district were having issues with chillers at the end of last school year. If there's any way to send in a team to evaluate the heating and cooling systems of our aging schools, I think this will benefit planning for repairs or replacements. You may already do something like that, but my daughter has been sitting in a school for a few days whose chiller's been going in and out, and they're probably making makeshift repairs. And of course, the school right across the street had chiller issues last year at this, during EOGs. And I know that these are major costs for our schools, and for this district to repair them. But if we can be proactive, then we can probably not have kids sitting in 90-degree classrooms. Those repairs are hard to wait on parts and hard to wait on entire systems while our kids are in school. I also want to address the proposed teacher pay and licensure plan moving through our state Board of Ed and possibly to our legislature. I want to point out that almost every level proposed, we already currently have a system or an existing program in place to address those needs. Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? The bottom line is this: we need to continue with the programs we already have. Our state currently has $6 billion in its coffers. All the legislature needs to do is give a raise to our staff and teachers, the raise that we already deserve, to continue to support and fund the programs and provide opportunities for veteran teachers to be teacher leaders. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee. Next, we have Miss Angela Barber.
Chairman Sutton, Vice Chair Sessoms, Dr. Bracy, Mr. Wooten, Ms. Andrews, Mr. Byrd, Mr. Carroll, Ronald. Congrats to our schools that scored in the 30%. Ms. Shepherd held us after school Friday afternoon, and we were so upset that we were being held on a Friday afternoon. But she was adamant on sharing that information with us. The elation that filled our media center was absolutely phenomenal. It's the happiest I've seen teachers in a very long time. I've been in this school system for 22 years. So I wanted to take a second and brag on our administration and tell you that I truly believe that part of it is you guys didn't play chess with the administrators over the past couple years. You allowed some of them to stay in place, and by that they were allowed to build relationships with their teachers in the building and build just a culture that felt safe for the teachers and the students. It's just one big relationship. It allowed for trust to be built and to be formed amongst all employees in the building. Speaking of relationships and trusts, there's a lot I could say, but I won't. There are two individuals running in this upcoming election for school board. Two that, without a doubt, will help get us back on the right track. Our children, our schools, and employees. And I hope in November the citizens of Johnston County will vote for Terry Tippett and Mark Lane to fill those seats. You need to step toward what's best for our school and step away from the candidates, Kevin Donovan, Michelle Antoine, that continue to play mind games as their good friend, Mr. Ronald Johnston, has been doing for years. Yeah, I know. He fooled me too.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. Next, we have Mr. David Marshburn.
All right, I'm going to read a couple of things here. I'm going to quote this stuff here. Incompetency and lack of leadership have led to financial crisis within the school district. That was said by one of your members. You can wink at me if you want to. I'm not that way, but you can go ahead. Stephen Britt proved you wrong. There is evidence 2 district employees were sexually harassed and physically assaulted, and that the school board tried to sweep it under the rug. These ladies were able to obtain recordings, both audio and video, of a male subject doing exactly what they said he was doing. We find that false. You have not proven that. You have not brought any evidence. You made the statement that you let the chair and Ms. Terry Sessoms hear this. I question that. they heard nothing but a faint female voice. That's it. You lied. You continuously lie, and you continuously play games with this board. You made another comment to them that you were being accused of beating your wife, knowing that was a lie. But you had every one of these playing to your tune as victim. You have two people in this audience that are candidates to vouch for you on a 43-second call. Since 2019, you have made these claims and not backed up one. You're a police officer. You know better. You know if I'm not going to turn a blind eye when something is wrong, then you would have gone to your people at the police department and turned it in. You know this. But you had everybody believing your whole hoax. You have risked two candidates here, and they're still here for you because they're still buying into the Ronald Johnson. I don't. None of y'all don't. You are a bully. And Johnston County, am I off? Johnston County Board of Education will not tolerate any form of harassment or bullying in any of its educational settings. You had that man followed for 1 year. This man right here, Todd Sutton. Well, you did. And your best friend has told it. And about your recordings, yeah, we have those. Also, I want to make a statement that the messages and the sexual harassment were from you on text messages. Started by you and finished by you. That we have too. So I would like to say, y'all have a long road ahead of you. I admire what you're doing, but get this piece of crap out of here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Thomas Garner.
Good evening. I'm not here to talk about Mr. Johnson. I'm here to talk about the way the board handled the last meeting I saw on YouTube. Allegations were made, motion was made to send it to the district attorney. The district attorney can't do anything. Why it was sent there, she even stated in the newspaper, she don't know what she could even do with it. So that was a waste of time. She's not going to do anything with it. The term a motion, it was established in 1883. It's been used 3 times. And I'm sure Mr. Malone knows that as an experienced attorney. And all 3 times it was used, they were charged and convicted of a crime. He's not been charged. He's not been convicted of a crime. You can throw that out the window. Now, his personnel file, any information, if he's under investigation, that he tells Smithfield Police, it can't be used in any court of law, civil or criminal. It's the Personnel Act. You can look it up. Now, as far as the recordings, under General Statute 20-143, 138, 11C, the public has access to records in closed sessions unless they are released will frustrate the purpose of the meeting. General Statute 115A 287, state law does not prohibit a secret recording of oral communication as long as one party to the conversation consents. There is no removal for a school board member. The member was elected by voters of Johnston County, and the only way to remove them is at the ballot box. So individual board members or others who attend closed sessions, according to the School of Government, may create a recording for their own use. There is no North Carolina statute or case that stops a board member from recording a closed session. General Statute 143, 138, the public may also learn about closed sessions from individual board members or others who attend the session. The open meeting law does not prohibit disclosure of information from closed session. What is the justification for prohibiting recording when members are free to take notes and even talk about closed session meetings? And real fast, when you went into closed session, you violated the law according to the Attorney General. A public body can only enter a closed session when they go into closed session to protect confidential information, the motion must cite the specific statute or law that protects the information for public disclosure. If the reason to go into closed session is for attorney-client privilege, the public body cannot entertain the motion. So you violated the law by going to.
Thank you, Mr. Garner. Thank you, Mr. Garner. Next, we have Miss Joy Marie. Miss Joy Marie, sorry.
That's okay. I can change genders at any time. Good evening. I'm impressed by what I learned this evening regarding the schools and what's happening. So I want to thank the board and all that have made that happen here this evening. I'm here tonight to show my support for the board and encourage you to continue the investigation process regarding a board member that was sent to the state so that we eventually get to the truth. The CAG group has spread the word and are using the spin that what you were doing in this regard is a witch hunt. I was here when Mr. Britt explained the accounting process and referred everyone to previous YouTube videos. And I have a little bit of a background in accounting, so I understood what was happening. I was a member of CAG for a year until I could no longer support their actions. They have created enough chaos and havoc in Johnston County. I encourage you to disregard what they have to say. This situation is in your wheelhouse, not theirs. We need to get back to doing what is best for the children, no matter what the outcome of this situation. The board has my full support. God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Miss Marie. Next, we have Angelique Leggett.
Okay, let's stay focused, guys. Hi, Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, and Vice Chair Sessoms, and everyone on the board. I just want to stay focused, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to remember 3 words for me: the greater good, okay? Because we're all here for the greater good. Parents, community, citizens, we're all here for the greater good, be it Johnston County, Smithfield, the United States of America. So, the last meeting I walked out of for my greater good because I found it was disrespectful, and Ron, you know I love you, but that was a little bit much for me, okay? Because no matter what we're all going through, we're being watched, we're an example to our children. We have got to maintain respect and professionalism for everyone in every situation. We cannot continue to put our self-interest before everything else. I have 5 children in Johnston County Public Schools, and I will hold each and every one of you accountable to ensure my children get the education that they deserve, okay? And I'm also going to do my part, even though there's no homework to teach me this new math, but I'm going to do my best to support my kids and this community. We have people coming up here. I just wanted to talk about the bullying policy that we have that needs to be updated. We don't want the situation that happened in Wake to happen to a kid, and it's very personal to me because my son was actually bullied in Johnston Charter Academy. He was called the boy, which was really bad for me. I mean, he was called the N-word too, which is bad, but he was called a boy by a 10-year-old white kid, and only thing I could think is how does he know this context of this word, boy, being derogative? But he knew it, so he's being taught that. But what I want to talk about with the bullying policy is that we need to update it. We need to ensure all of these things are covered. And we also need to ensure that the same energy we have when we're going after people that do things that are unethical and disrespectful, we have for the principals and the teachers who fail to report and protect our children when they are being bullied. One thing I've been hearing in this is that we have a whistleblower. If there's a whistleblower in here, I don't think anyone should be talking about it. So we need to be mindful that that Whistle Protection Act on a federal or for state False Claims Act, it's an intricate law, and it's specialized, and no one should know any information about it. If there's a violation of state, federal law, rules of regulation, if there's fraud, misappropriation of state resources, substantial and specific danger to the public health and safety, or gross mismanagement of monies or abuse of authority, that's when the Whistleblower Protection Act, that's when it falls under that, or for the State False Claims Act. I don't see any of that, but I'm not privy to the information. Please remember the greater good, because my children are involved in this. I'm here for the greater good, and we all should be.
Thank you, Ms. Leggett. Our last speaker tonight is Mr. Dale Lance.
Dr. Bracy, Chairman Sutton, board members, good to see everybody again tonight. I want to follow suit here and congratulate everybody. The data discussed earlier in this meeting seems extraordinary, and I'd also like to say thank you and congratulations to the teachers and the staff of this county for their continued hard work, and we all look forward to these results continuing to improve moving forward. Seems as if some members of the county school system are working hard for our kids, and it's time for this board to follow suit. There are a lot of us here tonight to support board member Ronald Johnston, and I remind this board that the residents of this county overwhelmingly voted for Ron in 2020 and would do so again today. We want and need Ronald Johnston on this board for the good of our kids, for the greater good that Angelique was just talking about. It's time for the school board to get back to dealing with the issues of teaching our kids and quit attacking other board members for outing inappropriate activity of some members of this board. Let me make a comment about David Marshburn, that since he came up and wanted to call a bunch of names out. David Marshburn, his comments are hysterical and always have been. He's never had one iota of proof of anything he said in any of his shows that he's done that I've had 1 million people call me about. Not one iota has he brought out of proof of anything. So anything that David Marshburn says is just like, it's a waste of your time to even listen to it. I urge you all to back off the personal attacks on other members. The county is tired of this out-of-control board running rampant over our rights as parents, grandparents, and citizens. Get back to doing the job we elected you to do, and that is make the schools better, not devise methods to hide money. Some have called this comment slanderous. However, words have meanings, and those words mean the same thing they meant when they were spoken by this board. 3 members of this board are gone in 90 days. So you are basically lame duck members of the board. I implore you to get back to the business of working on this school and let the new board and the new chairman that come in November, December, take action for the way this school system moves into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment tonight. We'll continue with Mr. Vetrano.
Good evening again, board members. I think there's one action item under my area. We actually do not have any administrative recommendations for you this evening, so I'll move on to the second agenda item. And I will say both of these agenda items are important and I'm excited about because they both have to do with recruitment and retention. The first is the teacher assistant to teacher program. As you know, we've discussed this already. I brought this to you in August. You actually approved it. Since then, we've continued to work with officials at Campbell and promoting this in our school system and looking at teacher assistants who are already interested in this program. And what we've realized is that we need to stretch this to 3 years instead of 2. And so that's why I'm coming back to you this evening. There are some other minor tweaks that the attorneys have made in the memo of understanding that you have access to. But the biggest change is really just extending that from 2024 to 2025. And as a reminder, this program will offer tuition assistance to dedicated employees in our school system who desire to become teachers in our school system. So this is presented to you for your consideration and approval.
Thank you, Mr. Vetrano. This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the TA to teacher program. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Wooten. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I recuse myself from this vote if I can.
Yes, ma'am. no further comments, we'll go to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. The next item, Global Teaching Partners. This is a service agreement. We already have an agreement with Global Teaching Partners. This is a revised agreement that has features in it that all attorneys agree with. Just to give you a little background, we partner with 4 organizations who bring international teachers to our school system. We have approximately 120 teachers from other countries in our school system today because of the affiliation that we have with these organizations such as Global Teaching Partners. From Global Teaching, we have 17 teachers in our school system this year. So it's our recommendation that we continue working with Global Teaching Partners, and that's why we're presenting the services agreement to you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Vetrano. This is an action item as well, so I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Andrews, second by Mr. Byrd. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vetrano. At this time, we'll call up Mr. Britt.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Bracy. Thank you for your time tonight. I just have one item for your consideration, and that is a proposed referral bonus for this school year for our employees. If it's the pleasure of the board, I can also give a recap of some of the other bonuses that we have available as well. So to do a recap first, we have secured, and by we, I do not mean me, because I just get to present the information to you. I didn't actually have the privilege of securing this grant, but Dr. Allen and her team have secured a grant that will enable the board to pay all our 27 nurses a $1,500 bonus for this year, and that comes in at a cost of about $40,500, give or take a little bit there, but that has been approved in the budget that you've already approved. But that's $1,500 for all 27 nurses in our school district, and that is funding that has come through. It is federal funds. Like I said. The other bonuses that we have to talk about this evening are a continuation of the what's called the low wealth recruiting bonus. This is the same bonus that the board authorized us to pursue last year, and so we would continue to pursue that again this year. As a recap, that would be all teachers that are hired between July 1 of this current fiscal year and October 1st would receive a $2,000 bonus. And this is a state initiative. It is written into legislation. It would be funded 50-50, so half from state funds and half from local dollars. And this is also included in this year's budget as well. So two pretty good bonuses there. The third one I have to talk about tonight is the one for your approval, and it is a referral bonus. And there are some components to it that the board should probably consider in its approval. So this would be a referral bonus for this school year, and it would be $1,000 per referral. And it would be for a referral that is hired in any of the following categories. It would be for certified vacancies, so this would be all teachers, media specialists, guidance counselors, et cetera. Nurses, social workers, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and it would also include teacher assistant vacancies, school nutrition vacancies, custodian vacancies, bus drivers, and office support. That is school-based office support. So all of these are considered permanent school-based positions. So in other words, if you have a teacher that has a friend that works in Wayne County Schools and refers that teacher to come work for Johnston County Schools, that teacher that is being hired would simply say, Teacher Jane Doe referred me to work for Johnston County Schools, and that teacher would be eligible for a $1,000 bonus. And so it would be for any employee, the referral bonus would be paid to any employee except for those of us that our jobs it is to recruit or for cabinet level. So not me, not our HR department, you know. So I can't go out and beat the bushes for you and get a bonus. But so it couldn't be split among staff. So it would be, you know, just one bonus offered to one employee. And it would be eligible for all employees except the ones that we just mentioned, you know, like myself. So the component that you know, that is left to kind of determine or for the board to consider would be usually for referral bonuses there is a time frame that an employee would need to be employed with the school district for the bonus to count. So in other words, you can't can't hire a bus driver to come on and work one day and then the employee get a $1,000 bonus if the employee doesn't show up on day 2. So when I worked in private industry, you know, we had this kind of bonuses for years. You know, so it's a pretty common thing for, you know, to be a time frame that an employee would work. We've had lots of suggestions everywhere from 5 months to a year. There's also been a suggestion about you could split the bonus, pay $500 at one threshold and another $500 at another. It is entirely, this is a locally funded bonus, so it would be paid by vacancy savings. And so the board has a tremendous amount of flexibility at its disposal. And so with that, I would turn it over to the board for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Britt. This is an action item. I'll entertain a motion to approve the employee referral program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Sessoms, second by Mr. Wooten. Any questions or comments?
I think the question in Finance Committee was whether we wait 5-6 months versus a year. And I think Mr. Carroll mentioned that 12 months would be appropriate to receive, or you want the employee, we're going to train the employee, and you would want the employee to stay for a full school year, whether it be starting in, if they start in October, it'd be October the next school year. But I'm in the same position as Mr. Carroll is. I think the employee needs to be a vested employee of at least a year. Now, whether you want to split it up between 500 6 months and 500 12 months, that's something that we all need to decide on.
Well, and I would just like to point out that this is a national issue, finding people to come back to work. This is not just specific to Johnston County. Yeah, as I read all of the information about employment, not just in education, but across all industries, it's a huge issue at this time. And anything that we can do to reward our employees for getting out there and asking people to join our team, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I like the idea. I just think the whole idea is we're looking to fill positions, people that want to stay in Johnston County. And I just feel we did have a discussion. I will say this, during our discussion, if an employee if it's a 10-month employee, then once they fulfill their 10 months, that's okay by me. If they're a 12-month employee, fulfill your 12 months. It's whatever that position they're hired for. If they fulfill that term, then I've got no problem. But I just think it would be, not, it wouldn't be the smartest thing to say, okay, we hire an employee and 3 or 4 months we're going to give somebody $1,000, we'll bring them in, and then those folks leave. We're looking for commitment, long-term engagements, because as we've said before, our most expensive employee is a new employee, because there's a lot of learning to be done, and we want to keep them here. So that is my only reservation, and I think it seems reasonable to me.
And, this is an expense that you want to have an expense because you're filling our vacancies, but you did say this will be paid for by our vacancy savings, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Estimated cost will be somewhere between 200,000 and 500,000 for the year. So it would just depend on how many recruits we get.
And I know we have, I too agree that we need, and I know we talked about, I agree that we need to have a year. I mean, we need them to stay with us for a period of a year. I do know that, you know, we have 9-month employees, we have 10-month employees, and we have 12-month employees. So, you know, that presents a little different issue. If I'm a TA and I come on, I'm referred and I come on board in October, are we saying that, you know, because they go home when the kids go home. Most of them are 9-month employees. And so, so they have to come back, you know, for next fall up until that annual time, that cutoff. I just think, I feel strongly that we need them to make a commitment to stay for a 12-month period, understanding that all of them are not working during that 12-month period, because very few of them are, to be honest with you, because you've got 9 and 10-month employees. Probably, well, are all custodians are not 12-month, is that correct?
That's right. You have both 10-month and 12-month.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, because I was thinking about that group. Yeah, I just feel like we need to have a 12-month period.
Yeah, and I have no issue with that.
No, I don't
No issue with that at all. Chairman Sutton, will this require an amendment to the motion?
Yes, ma'am. It will, if we want to make any changes to what's currently there. Well, actually, I'm sorry, you've got an X months, right? I thought it was a 5.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no, then it would not. We can put in the 12 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So does everybody feel comfortable with 12 months?
I really would like to see, you know, obviously we want to make an investment for the employee to stay, but I believe for us who are recruiting, I think for us to be aggressive in our recruiting, we can't make them stay, but I think we should be at least compensated at least at the halfway point. You know, so at $500,
I agree.
I mean, we
Yeah.
want to make the investment, but the people who are bringing the referrals should at least be given at least.
Mr. Britt, what does this do to your shop? Because that can be a moving target, because everybody may have a different start date.
It'll be actually more work on HR in this.
Oh,
case. I'm
okay.
Sorry, Brian. But
Well, sorry,
but yeah,
Brian.
Brian was Brian put in a lot of legwork into this. And,
Okay,
and,
but I do think halfway, I mean, people need the money. And, you know, we want them to know we're glad they're here, we want them to stay, and compensate them for that, yeah.
So this would require an amendment to this motion and second, due to having it at 6 months and paying the remaining at 12 months. So do I have a motion to amend and put the following in, that we pay half of the referral bonus, or excuse me, the referral bonus at 6 months and the remaining portion at 12 months?
I would ask that we would amend the previous motion, that payment would be made at halfway point of the employee, depending on when that was based on HR, at halfway point of their employment.
Okay, we have a motion to amend. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Byrd. Any other?
Well, because they could be hired at different, some work 9 months, some work.
Right.
How would you suggest, Mr. Britt?
We could just do, we could do whichever. You could do 6 calendar months, you know, so if an employee is still employed in,
Okay,
over the time frame. So it's however, the board can really structure it however it deems fit. But you could do, if you wanted to do a 12-month period and then do 6 calendar months, even if that falls into the summertime, we can still pay
Okay.
the employee if they're still employed. So.
so now,
Yes.
You know, we certainly want to reward our employees, but we talked about this before when we've had hiring incentives, and you reward the person with that incentive, and then someone fails to keep the commitment down the road. So when we're talking about giving the 500 at a halfway period, wherever that might be, if the person they referred does not stay the full term, I think saying that you receive 500, and then if they fulfill the entire term, you get the second 500. Okay.
My
I just
entire,
wanted to be clear.
I can hear my entire payroll department making a big sigh of relief right now. Thank you, Brian. Great question.
Can I amend, okay, I just ask that there be an amendment to the original motion that the individuals who are hired, who are, would be paid, individuals who would be paid this, would be paid at the halfway, at 6 months point, which would be 6 months into the calendar time of the beginning of employment.
Understood.
And then they would be paid the remainder at the 12-month mark. Okay. Mr. Byrd, are you good with that to stay on that second? Okay. Any other questions or comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
You know, my position would be, you know, if we're gonna start divvying it up, then, you know, I would rather, in this, you know, 12 months is the cleanest thing. And I want employees that refer to get a bonus, but we also want, you know, people referred that are serious about being an employee of the system. You know, if we're gonna divvy it up, then if it's a 9-month employee, then they must work 9 months. If they're off 3 months in the summer, then they've got to come back and complete the 9 months, 10 months, 12 months, whatever. That may be more work than we want to bite off. But, you know, 12 months is just nice, clean. Our employees would get their $1,000 at the end of that term, and more than likely, we would have an employee that is committed to staying with us. And I would hope our referring employees would understand what we're trying to do here. It's not withholding a referral bonus. It is trying to make the most and the best of a difficult situation, hiring and retaining new people. Well, and so somebody refers an employee that comes in near the end of the school year. You know, how would we go about tracking that? I mean, that employee should get $1,000, but we also want to have that person that is hired on be with us the following year, at least through their hire date.
Yeah,
I would think. All right, let's see. I would like to amend the motion to read that, Rod, how's it supposed to be? That we pay the bonus when the new employee has committed to the system their length of employment. And are we saying 12 months, or are we gonna go with the length of employment that they've hired for? 10 months, 11 months? All right. And it's gonna be paid out based on the length of employment that that person's job requires. 9 months, 10 months, 12 months. And once they reach that benchmark, then everyone will be happy. But referring person will get $1,000. We'll have a happy employee that's gonna come back with us because they've seen how nice it is to work in this school system. And, you know, we will have had a year of training for them, and we'll have a seasoned employee.
I think that will pretty much default then everyone to 1 calendar year. Because if you, because this would only be approved for this fiscal year, so it would only be for those hired between now and, you know, I guess the end of the school year, so June 30th. And so it'll pretty much, if you're a 9-month employee and you are hired in, let's say, March 1st, then you wouldn't have completed 1 full school year until February 28th of the following year. So it'll pretty much, if you go with the amended plan, it'll pretty much automatically default to one calendar year.
And payroll will be glad that it's 1 year as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a motion. Entertain a second. Motion, second by Mr. Johnston. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Britt.
Thank you.
With no further business to come before us tonight, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Carroll, second by Mr. Wooten. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
I was closer to it. I was closer.